Kia ora, good evening. Stage 2 of the Around the Mountain Cycle Trail from Walter Peak to Mosburn is being revamped after the first proposal was rejected by Environment Southland 2 years ago. Consents have been lodged for a 30-kilometre section of the second stage following a declined consent by ES in 2012 amid concerns about river works and potential effects. An alternative plan has been created which includes lower, longer bridges over a section of the Areti River and a change to the trail route. The application is now available for the public to view and make submissions, which close on November 4th. Stage 1 of the Quick Start Government project, which includes the trail from Mosburn to Kingston, is set to be officially opened on November 1st, a day later than originally scheduled. Pink Ribbon Day is tomorrow, with collections also being made on Saturday. Southland has, for the last 2 appeals, out-donated any other region. Southland Pink Ribbon Coordinator Leslie Soper was out today preparing 80 collectors for the coming 2 days.
What collectors always report, and what I know because I have a family history of breast cancer, is that almost everybody has a connection with breast cancer. People will say as they donate, my mother, my sister, my friend, one of my colleagues at work has had treatment or is undergoing treatment. So almost everybody knows someone affected. The awareness is good, but still not all women are taking advantage of free mammograms from age 45 to age 69, and a lot of women still, and younger women in particular, are still not really breast aware. So a huge part of the campaign is that plugging that message of early detection is your breast protection. It is really important for women, and actually for men. A lot of people don't realise about 1% of males do get breast cancer. So it is really important from age 20 that women and men are aware of knowing their own breasts and the signs. So just a little lump, just knowing how to do the self-detection, etc., and knowing your own breasts and what the changes are, and contacting straight away your GP to get a further look if you discover a lump.
A good idea for people to put a couple of gold coins in their pocket tomorrow, because we do sort of live in a cashless society now, but it's a good wake-up call for people to shove a couple of coins in their pocket. Absolutely,
it's really important. This is the only collection during the year, although we've had several pink ribbon breakfasts earlier in the year and a big fundraiser at the Ascot Hotel just a week ago by the Chiroptimus International. But really important because this is contributing to research, to education, and to helping women in the future, like my sister-in-law, who actually died but was part of a research program into breast cancer before she died. So it is really important that that investment goes in, because what Geraldine said at the time she entered that program was she knew it would not help her, but she hoped sincerely it would help women in the future. So that investment in research and support is just hugely important.
And New Zealand chefs are banding together to support breast cancer awareness. Pink ribbon cookies were being baked with dough from Quality Foods in the kitchen at Southland Boys High School today. New Zealand Chef Otago Southland executive member Scott Richardson was dressed in the appropriate pink chef's jacket as batch after batch had oven trays for baking before being packaged for sale.
Hopefully we're going to make at least a couple of thousand cookies and bag them up into little bags to sell at the farmers market. Quality Foods are a local company who basically make a range of pastry and cookie dough and a whole lot of other products, so they've actually sponsored the cookie dough for us to use to make the cookies. So it's a campaign that New Zealand chefs have actually organised. This is the second time we've run it. It's run biannually, and each of our 8 branches around New Zealand actually do a themed around the pink ribbon awareness. So all those funds that they raise locally actually stay in their region where they raise those funds. So each region will do a different thing. So of course we're doing the pink ribbon cookies, another region's doing pink lemingtons, for example.
What used to be commonplace in the shopping basket is now becoming obscure, so much so that they're no longer counted in the Consumer Price Index.
12 items have been removed from the index, mostly due to declining expenditure, including burglar and car alarms, video cameras and even e-book readers. Men's tracksuit bottoms, particle board, tennis rackets, squash club membership and video game hire have also been removed. To balance things out, 15 new items have been added to the CPI, including cider, property valuation services, packaged leaf salad, frozen prawns, plywood, spades and pets. The CPI is reviewed every 3 years, and since the 2011 review, the importance of housing and household utilities have increased, reflecting increased spending on property rentals, rates and household energy.
A $1.5 million government-funded project to convert commercial boilers to wood energy is gaining momentum in Southland. The Southland pilot project was announced in May 2014 by the Energy Minister. Since then, several Southland businesses and schools have already converted to wood energy options, which are said to offer long-term cost and performance benefits over traditional boiler fuels such as coal. Wood Energy South project coordinator Kathy Jordan says increased interest in wood chip boilers was encouraging as the project aimed to increase public understanding about how renewable wood energy could contribute to carbon reduction and economic goals. Several Southland schools are already using wood energy and several are in the process of undertaking feasibility studies. Stay with us. After the break, City Councillor Ian Pottinger calls for an independent review of City Councillor appointments to Board of Council's owned entities. Welcome back. Invercargill City Councillor Ian Pottinger wants an independent review of City Councillor appointments to boards of council-owned entities. The second-term councillor says now is the perfect time to do a review in light of a forthcoming decision around the freeing up of council holding company holdcos lending potential through uncalled shares. Councillor Potter says the fact that 5 experienced councillors have to remove themselves from the decision-making process because all have places on electricity Invercargill or holdco boards dilutes the much-needed debate about extending holdco borrowing capabilities by $132 million. Hunter Andrews first asked the councillor about his earlier efforts to spark a review of the directorship policy.
2 years ago, I prepared a brief for Mayor Tim Shadbolt, and it was regarding a report that was done for Dunedin City Council. And they had some changes done up there with directorships and their holding companies. So what happened was I read through the report, looked at it, and actually rang the writer, Warren Larson Consulting, and took the relevant bits for our council out of it, met with Tim, and then we went to Dunedin. We actually went up there and met with Paul Orders, the CEO, and Dave Cull, and talked about it. From there, unfortunately...
Well, since then, the Mayor's joined the airport board.
Well, yes, you could say that he might have gone to the dark side. So, yeah, but back then, he's now a director, that's right. It's funny you should say that because there's always been 4 directors on the airport and now there's a need for 5. And back in 2010, there were only ever 4 directors on the EIL board, but suddenly a 5th one was created.
And so the Dunedin decision was that it wasn't appropriate. That's what's happened there, and you're calling for something similar here.
Well, what I'd call for is actually a very open report. You know, someone to come in, look at our company structure, look at the way we've got directors. Because I'm open on it. If the report comes back and says, yes, what you've got here is great, and we see it working, then I would be fine with that. But I think we have to be brave enough to actually open ourselves up for some sort of scrutiny. Going to other reports done on this, on director subjects around New Zealand, Wellington went through it 2 years ago. Rosalind Plimmer did a report, and it saw the conflict as being too great, that you couldn't do the best job for both. And after all, we are elected as councillors first. You know, we're not, when we stand in each 3 years, we're not standing as directors, are we?
Is there a feeling, that this is a bit of a perk becoming a director? Is that possibly what it's seen as, or am I being too cynical?
No, there's always room for cynicism, and I think whether it's a perk, the money that's involved, I don't know, but you've got to weigh in experience and qualities of being directors. It's a serious job being a director of a company, and just because a gap's open and the fact that you just happen to be a councillor and you can walk into it, I think that opens questions there. When you look at the Local Government Act, it goes into various pieces on how directors are selected, and they must be capable and beneficial to the company for the various skills they have. Ask a lot of the businessmen around town. That's all you need to do actually, is talk to a lot of people, and they will say ooh, this is probably not right. But I'm open for an independent inquiry into our structure, just to see that things are right. I mean, Holco was formed back in early 90s, I think. It's been going a long time now, and I think we owe it to the public that we actually do something like this.
You're calling for an independent professional review of the situation?
I think we should, and I think the timing of this consultation program that we're doing now, I think the timing is perfect. What Holco is doing is ramping up the stakes, wanting to increase funding to 200 million. Then we need to say, well, okay, righto, that's fair enough, but we need to make sure that we're happy that Holco is in its best state.
The ratepayers I'm talking to are not even sure what an uncalled share is, and certainly aren't planning on making a submission by tomorrow.
Well, back in September last year, when the uncalled share thing came up and before our annual report, it was to do with changing the nature of uncalled shares. We had these Otagonet ones that were tagged back in 2002, and somehow they got untagged and were being used as open security. So that's when I first learned about uncalled shares. Now it just takes a bit to get your head around them, but basically council is using this investment in Holco, which is not called, okay, but Holco's banks see that as right. Well, it says that money is available if needed, okay, and then Holco can borrow at a good interest rate. So, it makes some sense, but there is a limit, and you'd have to ask yourself who's in control of running this city. Is it council or is it Holco?
Tonight on Sport, we speak to Julie Carroll from Badminton New Zealand about the tournaments that are taking place in the city. That's coming up after the weather next. From the news team, though, it's good night.